Hi everybody! Lesson 12 is also about senses. For this flipped classroom lesson, you're going to need your root card and whatever materials you've chosen for your vocab strategy. You can follow along on page 74 of your workbook. Make sure that you're filling out your vocab strategies completely and that if you have any other questions or want some more examples, you're using your workbook as a guide. The first root that we're going to add to our card today is sentio, and it means to feel with the senses. Make sure you're noticing the other three variations of sentio. This is one of two roots that appear in lesson 12. Again, it means to feel with the senses. There are several words that use this root. The first word that we're going to learn is assent. Assent is a verb, or sometimes it's also a noun. The verb definition is to consent or to express agreement. The noun definition is agreement or consent. Make sure you add this word and definitions to your vocab strategy, and make sure you note that it could be used as either a verb, action word, or a noun. The sentence on the screen reads, "After a class vote, the teacher assented to move the test to the following day." In this example, assent is being used as a verb. However, if you look in your workbook, there's an example of it being used as a noun. It says, "Don't plan our summer vacation until you have the assent of the whole family." The next word that we're going to learn is actually an antonym or an opposite word of assent, and it is dissent. Again, it can be used as a verb or a noun. Similarly to assent, the verb version says to have or express a different opinion, whereas if it's used as a noun, it means disagreement. In the sentence it reads, "The crowd voiced its dissent by booing when they were told to leave." In your book, it says that a dictatorship seldom allows dissent from its policies to appear in the press. And that's the noun version. And then to be used as a verb, it says, because they dissented from the established Church of England, the Puritans experienced persecution. And again, that's used as a verb. Make sure you're adding this word to your vocab strategy, noting that it can be used as either a verb or a noun. And you may also want to think about how you can remember this word. Since the definition is pretty similar to assent, they're exact opposites. You want to make sure you have something in your mind so that there's a distinction between those two. We have a few more words that use the root sentio. The next one is presentiment. This is a noun, and it means a sense of something that's about to happen. In your book, it reads, "Because I had a presentiment that you would call tonight, I knew it was you when the phone rang." A feeling, sense about something that's going to happen. "As I had a presentiment about an accident, I knew it was bad news as soon as I heard the sirens." And in the picture there, you'll see a fortune teller. Fortune tellers often try to guess what's happening in the future, make predictions about something that's going to happen in someone's life. They would probably say that they have a sense about when something is going to happen. Make sure you add this word in its entirety to your vocab strategy. We're going to move on to the fourth word, but if you need to pause the video, please do. The next word is sensuous. Sensuous is an adjective. It's a describing word, and it means appealing to the senses, especially aesthetically, which means by sight. The sentence on the screen reads, "The gallery was full of paintings with sensuous colors and lines," meaning they were really appealing to your eye. And I have a few examples of paintings here that could be described in this way. In your book, the definition, in your book, the sentence explains how sensuous could be used to appeal to senses other than just sight. It says that the garden offered much sensuous variety of sights, sounds, and smells. So whereas the sentence on your screen is particular to that sense of sight, the sentence in the book shows that it can be appealing to other senses as well when being used as a descriptor. We have one more word that uses sentio as a root, and this word is sentinel. A sentinel is a type of person. It's a noun, and it's a sentry or someone who keeps watch, which you should make a connection back to Antigone when you hear that word sentry. We know that a sentry is a guard from that play, and a sentinel is basically a synonym for sentry. The same type of thing, someone who keeps watch or who guards. So in order to get into the castle, the knight would have to get past the sentinels. In your book it reads, a sentinel was posted at every gate of the besieged city. This word will always be used as a noun, so you can kind of use that to help you when you're trying to plug this word into a sentence. And try and think of a way that you can remember this word. And maybe that connection to Antigone will help you. Maybe there's another way that you can come up with to remember it. There are only 9 total words in Lesson 12, which is good because this next quiz you have coming up is going to be a big one. It's going to be on Lessons 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And actually, I misspoke. It's actually only 9, 10, 11, and 12. So those 4 lessons will be on your next vocab quiz, not 8. You don't have to worry about 8, but make sure that you know the words from 9, 10, 11, and 12. We're going to move on to our next root, which is tango. Tango means to touch. Make sure you're adding the definition of tango to your root card. And we have 4 words that use tango as a root, which will total 9 words when we're done with this lesson, just in case you're keeping track. The first word that uses tango as a root is contiguous. This is an adjective, a describing word, and it means adjoining or sharing in a boundary. In the picture in the lower left-hand corner, kind of matches with our sentence here. After seats were arranged, our desks were contiguous, meaning they were sharing a side or they were touching. A lot of times people will talk about states or other areas on a map being contiguous. So the southern border of Virginia is contiguous to North Carolina's northern border, for example. And there are a lot of other combinations you could plug in there that would make sense if you want to try and come up with another connection to this word. Make sure you're adding it to your vocab strategy accurately because the next few words we have are similar in definition. The 7th word in Lesson 12 is tangible, a word that you've probably heard before, another adjective or describing word meaning perceptible by sense of touch, clear and definite, real, concrete. So a lot of different definitions here, but all adjectives. The sentence reads, the only tangible agreement is a signed contract, meaning the only agreement that you could actually see or touch would be a signed contract. And if you take a look at our pictures, it kind of shows touching with the braille. The sentence in the book actually is a little bit similar. It says that Louis Braille developed a system of tangible letters by which the blind can read. It also says in your book, because only a verbal contract has been made, the firm had no tangible evidence that they had been cheated. Two more words use tango as a root. We're going to move on to the 8th word, which is tactile or tactile. Another adjective. Similarly, it means pertaining to or using the sense of touch. And you'll notice that tangible is actually a synonym for tactile. So they have a very similar definition, and you really need to know the difference so you don't get mixed up on your quiz. Whereas tangible means perceptible by a sense of touch, tactile means pertaining to or using a sense of touch. I would really recommend thinking of a distinction in your mind, coming up with a clever way to remember the definitions of these two, just so you're not getting them mixed up, since they are so similar. It says in your book that the skin is the largest tactile organ of the body. And then on the screen it reads, early education teachers often use tactile toys to teach younger students. So toys that you touch or that are tangible. We have one last word, and this word is a kind of complex one because it could be used as an adjective or a noun, and there are really 4 separate definitions for this one. You may have heard this in math class before, as I kind of indicated with the picture on the right-hand side. Tangent, also an adjective. So you probably have noticed that all 4 of the words that use tango as a root are adjectives, and all have to do with the sense of touch. So I can't stress enough how important it is to come up with a distinction between these 4 words. When tangent is used as an adjective, it can mean touching, irrelevant, or off subject. So, for example, my teacher, despite trying his best, will often go off on tangents. So go off subject, lose focus. But tangent can also mean touching. And in the noun version of this word, it actually talks about lines that touch the outside of a curve but do not cross it. It's just shown in that picture and is what you've probably learned in math class. And if you go off on a tangent or there's a sudden change in direction, tangent could be used in this way as well, in a noun version, not an adjective version. So note that the noun and adjective varieties can both be used with this word. The sentence that we have here on the bottom of the screen is actually using tangent as a noun, a plural noun. But to use it as an adjective, the sentence in the book reads, "One wall of the house was tangent with the house next door." Could also say, "Although your comment is interesting, I'm afraid it is tangent to the topic of our discussion." And just a few more examples of it being used as a noun. For a short distance, the highway runs at a tangent to the edge of the lake. And finally, she went off on a surprising tangent, leaving business school to become a Buddhist nun. Those are actually all the words that we have. It's a little bit of a shorter lesson this week. So at this point, you should have 9 total words, 4 of which go along with our root tango, and the other 5, which go to feel with the senses, sentio. Make sure that you have your strategy completely filled out and that you're reviewing all those other lessons as well, including all of the roots from the beginning of the year for this next quiz, which is going to be a big one. Good luck!